Hi, welcome to The Dive In, a podcast where we go beyond the surface of the stories that captivate us. I'm your host, Kathleen. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by none other than Akash.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. It is past my coffee time, but I have a nondescript beverage. It is not alcohol. It's not. I've been trying to take care of my health, but I know it's flipped around, but me and my dog talk shit about you. Koozie. I don't know where I got this. I don't know. I truly do not know where I got it, but that's what we're doing.
Very nice. I actually am drinking coffee, but coffee will put me to sleep, so we're good.
Coffee will put you to sleep, or won't
hmm
put you to sleep.
What?
Coffee will put you to sleep?
hmm
That is a strange sentence you've just told me, but I've recently learned that some caffeine does affect some people differently.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I will probably, if I start losing energy, just let me know.
I don't think it's possible to lose energy with this movie. This movie. They did really good with the suspense aspect of it.
Agreed. Yes. I'm very excited because we are talking about the new Netflix movie, Woman of the Hour. This film was written by Ian McDonald. It is a crime thriller inspired by the events of the real-life serial killer, Rodney Alcala. It mainly follows aspiring actress Cheryl Bradshaw, who, after not having much luck, lands a role in the dating game. Anna Kendrick not only stars in this film, but makes her directorial debut. As always, we are going to go into depth, pun intended, about the film. So if you don't want it to be spoiled, listen no further.
There were spaceships and aliens and laser guns, and then the
So
laser gun shoot
many
the alien, and then
things.
the alien grabs the laser gun, and the other alien betrays. There are no aliens in the making of this movie.
I just realized I'm not wearing my headphones. No, keep going. It's fine.
No,
Yeah,
it's fine. Screw it. We'll do it live. And so, yes, I think the big thing, I don't know where you want to start about this movie. Do we want to start with Anna Kendrick, directorial debut aspect of this and talk about
um,
that and then go in? Because, like, this
yeah.
movie, as good and as suspenseful as it is, like, it is legit based on real things.
Yeah. So I think, well,
Not even loosely. It's, like, very much based on some real things.
Well, I mean, like a lot of it w was exaggerated as to like the things that happened, but as far as the serial killer himself, yes, it was very much on point. Which I was like, I knew what it was about, I knew what it was inspired by, but you just watched it, because I told you to.
I didn't know it was based on a true thing. I we got a new TV. Hey everyone, I got a new TV thanks to my grandparents moving, and it's a very large TV. And it has 4K apparently. It is very difficult to get 4K to work if you don't have a HDMI that is equipped for 4K because I'm a cheap man and I just had HDMI cords from years ago. So I put the 4K HDMI cord in and I turn it on and my peasant eyes are blown away. The TV looks so good, it looks bad to me for a moment. It's like putting contacts in after not having contacts in. I was like, this is too much. Oh no. Oh
It's
no.
like that Family Guy bit where they like finally get HD cameras or something, and or everyone upgrades to HD TV, and then they have to fire the newscaster because it turns out she had all this like just did not look good. The old cameras had
That's
blurred everything
literally
out.
what it was. Oh my God. And it's so bright, the TV, which is good. Like
Yeah.
I'm an old man with my spectacles. And so I was like, oh my God, I was lost and now I see. And then we log into the Netflix. The first thing there is The Woman of the Hour. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the movie that came out last year. Because when I Googled it briefly, I was like, oh, 2023. That's when it was freaking being produced.
Yeah,
And
no, it came
so
out like last week.
yeah, no. We watch it, and I'm like, number one in the country. What a good movie, and it must have had a resurgence. We put it on, and I'm like, I was not prepared for this movie, man. I was not prepared. I just wanted my beer. It was a long day, and then I was angry at this motherfucker.
Um,
That's how my night went. My fiance watched it with me. She enjoyed it.
Yeah, when you told me she watched it, I was like, okay, cool. She'll actually like this one, unlike the horror movies I've made you watch in the past.
We looked at so before we hit play, it tells you like the genres under the name. It didn't say horror. I was like, all right, sexual violence, cursing, yeah, yeah, beating women, yeah, this is all stuff that's fine, yeah, okay, oh yeah, yeah, giving cannabis to minors, okay, not an issue, not horror though.
Nope, it's okay. It's not horror.
But continue on. That's just yeah, it was
Uh,
it was it was really good. Also,
yeah.
speaking of the I don't know what cameras they used to shoot this movie.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. No, I really appreciated like the different angles and the just point of views that they provided for this for like the different characters and stuff. But I will say in the opening scene, I think I set myself up for failure just a little bit because I'm so sorry if you can hear that. Can you hear that?
Can't hear a thing.
Amazing, because I can hear it. It's very loud. It's the trash man. But no, in the very opening scene, like we have Rodney there, or who we learn is Rodney, and it's completely from his point of view. Like he's looking through a camera, and I know the story a little bit. I know that he's on the dating game, which means that like there's that partition. She can't see who this guy is. So immediately I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to show his face until like the end. This is going to be great. Like anytime we get to his point of view, it's going to be like literally from his point of view, from his eyes. It's going to be so cool. Everything's going to be through the camera lens. And I was immediately disappointed when they showed him. Like not even 2 minutes later. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Take that back. I thought that was it's fine. It's still great, but I definitely set myself up for failure because I was like, I built this whole thing out in my mind within 2 seconds. Like, this is amazing. And then it wasn't what I thought it was.
I was very surprised they just started off that way, but that is a great way to like that scene was a great way to hook the audience onto it because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it was good to start that way because it showed exactly like kind of who he was from the start. That way
Mhm.
we're not like if someone who like you who has not heard of the story is watching it, you're not like it's not a shock value. It's like, oh no, here's this guy who's like very charming, very sweet, like he's helping this girl, like they met on who knows a vacation or something, they went hiking, and now he's taking these cute photos of her, and then immediately it turns violent, and it's like to a point where he's torturing her. And they I think they did a good job of like showing it without like showing too much. Like they didn't have to make it graphic or make it like show so much. They were able to tell like just how violent this guy was without actually having to show us too much, which I appreciated. Uh, just as
I
a
think
viewer.
there was a couple of things that we can say, I think, before going into it. One is the
Yeah.
callousness of how men treated women in the 70s in this particular movie. Um, it was completely believable. It was very much this
It
movie
wasn't
very much.
it wasn't just the 70s. Let's be real.
No, no, I mean it wasn't just the 70s.
Yeah.
But this movie mainly takes place in like late 60s, early 70s is the point of time that they were showing us. And the jumping back and forth was done in a very good manner. I thought the jumping forward and back was done in a wonderful manner. I did go into this movie thinking Anna Kendrick was the main character because that's kind of what Anna Kendrick is in most movies. Um, and she was good at acting, but she felt out of place for a lot of the movie. She and I know Cheryl wasn't out of place, but Anna Kendrick, the actress, she just felt, as weird as it sounds, too put together for the 70s that they were showing for the most people.
No, I agree. I think her character, and I do wish that she had a slightly bigger part than what she did have, considering it is called the Woman of the Hour, and like it's focused on her and the experience that like obviously this is loosely based on the actual Cheryl that was on the dating game. And it's like she never actually went out on the date with a guy. At
Mm-hmm.
the end, like I knew that going into this that she never actually went out with him. But like it she the
Thankfully.
Yeah, all of the occurrences that we see, any interaction she has with a man is like a different variation of different men that women do encounter on a very daily basis. So I did appreciate
Yes.
that, but I didn't, yeah, like I feel like her character could have been a little bit more of a main character than it was. Because even her interaction, like while as intense as it was with him, like the scene when they do go out at the end, which spoiler. But the scene when they're in that bar and all of a sudden like people walk out and like the music stops and like all the background and like you can hear a little bit of footsteps back and forth from the waitress and there's
Hmm.
no one else in there. Like you can just hear the silence. You can feel like that, I guess what you could call the ick, like something he said, like
Oh
she just
yeah.
got that feeling of like, oh, something's not right here. And now I'm alone. There's no one else here. Like she just got that feeling and you could feel it because they took away all those other sounds. And it was like, oh, this is an all too, it's an all too real feeling. The moment that you feel like when you're on the street and you feel like someone's following you, it is that quiet. Like it is that feeling of fear and silence, and it's intimidating. And I think they did a really, really good job capturing that. But beyond that, it was such a short-lived, I guess, because they call this a crime thriller, and that was probably the only part that I would really consider thriller. So it was
I
so short-lived that I do wish there was a little bit more after that.
Going into what you said, like I think you're totally right with the depictions of this man, starting with pity sex man,
Oh,
is how I
Terry. Yes.
Terry, yeah.
Yes. Which, by the
Being
way,
for like yeah, I was not pleased with that. But I am a I'm a classic feminist. I'm all about the powerful woman, sister. And so I was like, this sucks. I'm sorry that it upsets me. People feel obviously I know this happens and I understand. I understand the things you guys have to go through and stuff. But it was still sad. It was still sad to see. And then at the end when Cheryl obviously because like Cheryl to me Anna Kendrick very much exuded like the main character energy. I guess I'll put it.
yeah.
Um, and as you said, like the dating game is supposed to be the center of the story. It didn't feel like the center of the story to me at all.
Agreed. I feel like I personally like I really liked this movie, but I do
Oh,
think that it would
fantastic movie.
I do think that it was kind of missing like more of a central like I wish it was like kind of expanded more of the dating game a little bit and caused a little bit more tension or thriller throughout the game or something like dramatize that part a little bit more since that
Hmm.
is supposed to be the main focus is like, oh, this is about the woman of the hour that she's on stage with the serial killer. Like that to me was what the movie was supposed to be about, and they didn't draw like they had the back and forth, they had the flashbacks, we had a little bit of backstory about who she was, but I feel like they didn't expand enough on the central part of the movie.
I do think they made her too much like a modern day woman, in this
I can see
sense,
that. Yeah.
especially with the questions and such like that, which
I agree.
all
Yeah.
about modern women, but
Yes.
you know what I'm saying with this. But also, speaking of, I thought the actor Daniel Zavato, who played Rodney,
Yes.
Rodney, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that man needs to be in more things. Jesus Christ, was he
He's
a good actor? Oh my God, dude.
he is like, I mean, he was in It Follows and a few other things, but he's
He
more
was
into
in Agents
he
of Shield and Beneath. I think I'm
yeah,
trying to
Penny
think. Let me.
Dreadful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
City of Angels. Let me see if there's anything. Lady Bird.
he was in Lady
Uh,
Bird.
he was in Fear the Walking Dead for a couple
Yeah,
episodes.
he's like a scream king, I guess you could say. Like he does a lot of like horror type movies, which I kind of want to see him in like a
I'm glad. I don't know if he's been a main character in other stuff before. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff,
yeah.
but I would still call him kind of the main character of this movie because it is. It is a movie about him at the end of the day. So he crushed every scene where he has to be a crazy person. He did great. He was charming when he needed to be charming. He was smart when he needed to be smart. He was a creepy motherfucker when he needed to be a creepy motherfucker. Um, and yeah, let me be clear here. Nobody on this cast was bad at acting, but the best actress was the hairdresser lady. I was here for her. She was so great. She was like,
Yes.
man, fuck it.
I mean, yeah, that's like good for her. That joke that he did in the very beginning of the dating game where he was just like, "Oh, she quit her job because her boss asked her for a foot massage and asked her to move up or something like that."
Yeah.
I probably just completely killed that. But um that was the actual joke that he said on the I so I watched the actual dating game episode,
Wow.
and that is the actual introduction that they used for Cheryl on that show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Men suck, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
wow. Why are you friends with me? Like, damn, I wouldn't want to be. I, God, guys suck, dude. Put it in the
No.
comments, ladies. Get down in the comments. Men
Oh my
suck.
gosh. No. I mean, not obviously this is a subset of men, and like it's more, I guess you can put it in the category of male toxicity. Not everyone falls under that category, but
Oh,
in this
absolutely.
movie, it just highlighted like the worst out
Oh,
of
100%.
men.
As this movie should.
Which I'm sure in LA is like so much more of an occurrence than it is in like a normal day to day. Um,
Really makes you hate casting agents. God, I
yeah,
remember
oh
casting
yeah.
agents. I'm
Anna,
really glad I don't have to deal
Anna
with them anymore.
Kendrick said that like the comments that they made were comments that she actually have had in casting agent.
That pisses me off. Like, it's like, are
Hmm.
you cool with nude scenes? And she's like, I would rather not. It's like, yeah, why? Like, there are very few movies you really need to have like overblown sexual
Yeah.
happenstances in.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need that in like a random comedy or action movie? You don't really.
Yeah. No,
Does it
it
progress
doesn't
the
drive.
story?
Yeah, it
No.
doesn't drive the story.
You
Yeah.
wanted to see Anna Kendrick's boobs? Like, I'm just happy to see her act. Like, I'm a big fan of Emma. Also, like you said about the direction and the scenes and the how they were shot, I thought it was so good how they did the different camera views, like you said, like the when we went in the past and he was in that random girl's apartment in New York, which like, why would you do that to a random person? Like, whatever. But like, he made it creepy right away, kind of thing. Well, once again, that silent ick. And then we get the top down view. I was like, this is fantastic. Like, this is a great shot of it. It's really sad because it probably really did happen like that, but like it was crazy, but it also shows the lack of communication between police offices back then, and how it really got better
Well,
after that.
the
Such
thing is I so I did, as if we're gonna get a little true crimey here, which is not
welcome
normally
to the
what we
true
do.
crime. My name is Akash, and this mustache of mine will find the real criminals as we dive
We
into.
we already know who the real criminal is, but we will
Good
fill in the
job,
details
mustache.
about
You
it.
did it. I had it right on the tip of my mustache. I'm actually looking at a
Um,
photo of Rodney Alcala.
yeah.
I have his mugshot in front of me.
Yeah. No, they said that he had been arrested several times for assaulting women before he even got on the show. They did not
Hmm.
screen anybody who was getting on that show.
Not a single bit.
Nope, not even the slightest. Not to see like, hey, is this guy like a registered sex offender? Maybe we should find out before we put him on a dating game. Um, but they did not do that. So he ended up on it, and like I guess some of the producers they come back and say like, "Oh, we thought he was creepy." It's like, "Did you really?" But the women were like, "No, he was cute. We said that he had to be on it, and he was charming." Like I was like I said, I had watched the episode, and I had like was cooking dinner, so I wasn't like watching it, but I was listening, and I was like, "Oh, that was funny. That was clever." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm creeped out. Like this guy is a serial killer, and it's creeping me out." That like I'm like, oh, that was a good one. Like that's a
That's
great line to
sad.
say. And I was like, oh, that's so disgusting. Like it's to like look back and be like,
Hmm.
oh no. No, like he's done heinous, horrible, horrible things.
To put
Just
it in
like
perspective of
completely
people that do not know, when they arrested him and such like that, they found a compiled collection of over 1,000 photographs of women, teenage girls, boys, many in explicit poses. Uh, in 2016, he was charged with the 1977 murder of a woman identified in one of his photos, and so he was uh, confirmed victims are eight, and at the end of the movie, they talk about how it could be over 130, which is crazy. But also, when you find out one of the murders he was indicted for happened in Wyoming, he was everywhere.
He
Like
was
he was,
everywhere. They thought they actually like investigated him as if he was the hillside strangler back in the day, and they were able
Mhm.
to clear him. And I'm like, but okay, what how much overlap was there? Like I'm sure the hillside strangler probably got accused of stuff that he did, and somehow he got cleared for it anyways, just because of they didn't have the DNA back then. They didn't have like the technology that we have now for crimes, but it's just oh,
To
just
put into
the
perspective,
idea. Yeah.
span of his crimes was 68 to 79. That's only one decade. That's only a little over a decade. So he had to have been active prior to that, I assume. But 130 is crazy. He also big, big malignant narcissism and stuff like that,
So much
and
so.
and clearly, I
Well,
mean, like all
he
kinds of stuff.
he had
But
been
like,
discharged from the military because he was
yeah,
found to have some I forget what it's called, but like a personality disorder where essentially like he had no feelings. He had absolutely no remorse. Like he was
oh,
diagnosed with this
antisocial
thing.
personality disorder.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
he was not just a sociopath. He was a psychopath.
Yeah,
That is,
exactly.
yeah, that is the terminology used now or then.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychologist.
Yeah, no, he literally has no remorse for the things and the actions that he did, which is very surprising because as we
Of
see
how
in
he was
the
caught. Yeah.
yeah, like as we see in the film, like that's the actual way that he was caught was
Hmm.
a girl had turned to him and it's so funny because I do remember the story specifically. I must have heard this story like very recently, but
The dating game killer is something I had heard before prior, but I did not know this movie was about that. I didn't know that's who he was, and I did not know the extent of the crimes. And let me be clear here. I have no basis or safety net for like sexual sadism, rape, any of that. I just think you're a shitty person right away. Any of across that, there's lines that don't need to be crossed.
yeah.
And
No,
which I guess I'm a normal human being. I don't. I'm not a murderer. So what do I know?
yeah. No, I just my brain cannot conceptualize not
Yeah, I don't
having
listen to true crime
remorse.
either. I don't
Yeah, I
listen to
listen
true
to way
crime.
too much true crime,
Of
but
course you do. I knew it.
all the
You were saying
time.
about the
Yes,
girl that
yeah. So
what was her name?
it's interesting. Her name was
Sarah?
Amy.
Amy. Autumn
Yeah.
Best is the actress that plays
Yes.
her.
Yes.
Who did great.
Yeah.
She's only been she's it looks like she's only been in like one or two things. I hope she's in more stuff. Like,
Yeah. No, I think she did wonderful, and let me see. Oh yeah, no, she's only been in like two things. You're
but
right.
she's been performing on like stages and like stuff like that. She's yeah. I hope we see more of her. She's also just
Yeah.
like a really pretty girl. Like I hope she does more stuff where she's not just being attacked by a serial killer.
Yeah. But yeah, so the actual how he was caught, which was depicted in the movie with Amy was she like turned to him and was like, "Oh, like please don't tell anyone. This will be so embarrassing for me. Like I let things get too crazy, blah blah blah." Like essentially she took the blame. So I think it's interesting that he's supposed to be this person or that he's diagnosed as somebody without any remorse, but yet like the moment she's just like she's the one showing the shame it was like
I think the borderline personality disorders and things like that. Like from what I'm this is just general like search on Google. I am not. This is not professional statements. But I see the antisocial personality disorder you mentioned. Um, but other diagnosis proposed by psychiatrists at his trial included narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, malignant narcissism, psychopathy, and sexual sadism. Com- comorbid comorbidities. I don't know how to
yeah
say this word. I'm so sorry.
comorbidities. It means they all exist together at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what this means.
But yeah, no, I mean I could based on like obviously what we know and from the film is what we're basing all of this off of. But yeah, it's just interesting that like that is what did him in was somebody taking the remorse instead of because it makes me wonder like did he have remorse and that's why he like chose to kill his victims afterwards? Um and because she took the remorse from him, he was okay letting her be? I don't know.
I
It's
think
very
she played to her
interesting.
strengths, and I think was smart about it. Like I'm just happy uh, that like she survived, and she was so smart. Like she could have screamed for help at that intersection, and she didn't. She like held it together until she was alone, and she booked it. I'm glad she didn't ask random man walking. She just booked it because like none of the men in this movie were trustworthy to like besides like throwing out a window. And then Cheryl goes on to live what seems like a happy life. She seems to have figured out something else in her life. I'm
Yeah.
happy for her.
Which yeah,
And
the real life Cheryl didn't even go anywhere with this guy. So
good. Like when
yeah,
in the driveway in the parking lot when she says, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere with you," I'm like, "That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about." Don't.
Yes. Yes. And that it made me so nervous because like I said, because this is only inspired by this true story, I was like, oh, is she actually going to become a victim? Because they could have taken creative liberty and done anything at that point. So I was like, oh, is this actually going to happen? Is she actually going to be the victim? Uh, but then luckily people came out and were being loud. And so like he had to walk away in that point. Which was such a relief because yeah, that's I think every woman's worst nightmare is being in a big parking lot and
No one being there.
no one being there. It's terrifying. Yeah. Like that's something I think most women can agree on is like one of the first things that we learn when we get a car is to put the keys between your fingers. And like that's something like I know that my brother was never taught when he learned how to drive. That is something I was taught immediately by my mother when I got my own car. So it's just like that's another like iteration of like things that like people don't think about, but it's such a normal
No.
part of a woman's life.
It's really I thought they did a great way depicting those aspects that maybe I wouldn't like I wouldn't think of as let's say a man or things like that. And it was really interesting because I was we were watching the movie and I was thinking of Cheryl and she obviously in real life picked Rodney Alcala. I don't need to say his last name, Rodney, and because we're on a first name basis like that, obviously. But it very much you said they didn't vet this guy. He had already served prison time for like sexually assaulting an 8-year-old girl by the time he was on that show. No, he and like in one of the flashbacks we see where the police are questioning him and the police are laughing it off after they leave. It really showed. I was like, oh, I guess he might have been gay or something. And it's like, gay was a nice way to put it. Like that man was just a deviant sexual psychopath and like chill. And then at the end, when they write like he was indicted, he went off on bail, and then murdered a mom and a 12-year-old girl after sexually assaulting them. And I'm like, my God, dude, just no remorse, no safety. And then I'm really glad when it came up for parole or whatever. Um, uh, Amy, the character Anna Best played, was there, and apparently, as they put it at the end of the movie, that was the nail in the coffin that was Rodney Alcala. And I was like, good, absolutely 130. And I'm just like, how do you even get suspected of 130 kills? And how messed up of a person are you that many people didn't want to be with you?
Yeah. I do want to bring up, I think, is this the character Gretchen? Oh no, sorry.
Oh,
Laura. We have not talked about her character yet. So
Laura. Which one was
she
Laura?
was the audience member.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll
So
let you start off.
yeah, so this was a very interesting take because this was where some of the creative freedom came in, but she's supposed to represent a character of somebody who like knows that he has committed crimes and that he's a bad guy, like and it's something personal to her because of he she believes that he had murdered her best friend, and it was one of those moments where like she has her boyfriend with her, and I will say they actually did him. I think they did him well because I in the moment he's just like, "Are you sure?" Because like it was dark that night
Yep.
on the beach, which like yes is a little bit of gaslighting, but like those are valid questions in that moment because you're considering somebody's entire life and but it's also the police's job to,
Yep.
like, I can see both sides. It's like,
Follow
it's,
up, yeah.
it's the police's job to follow up and to do their job. And if you're saying like, hey, I think he's the guy who did it, they should follow up and look into it. And they should be able to definitively say like, no, it's not him, or yes, it
They
is
didn't even have
him.
record of him, record of who was
Of
talking
the
to him when she
complaints,
went.
yeah.
Yeah.
And which is insane.
This must have changed
But
a lot of policing.
yeah, no, I mean, you would think. Uh, you would think. But
One hopes, one hopes.
yeah, so she was kind of a representation of all the, I guess many women had come forward and stated that like they had been assaulted by this guy and it or like almost attacked by him or all these things. They put in all these complaints and no one did anything. He was still out in the world literally murdering people
He
after
just
all
moved
these
the town over, if
complaints.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, it's like a lot of it had to do with the fact that like police stations weren't talking to each other. All you have to do is just hop over state lines, move to the next town, whatever, and all of a sudden you have a clean slate. Nobody knows anything about your past. Um, and yeah, so it was just interesting because she was dealing with the fact that like okay, like she knows it's him, she sees him, she recognizes him, she tries to do the right thing, she tries to go to the producer to get this guy pulled off the show. She talks to her boyfriend about it and he gaslights her. And I will say it wasn't in a I didn't I think the guy who played portrayed the boyfriend did it in an endearing way, and the way it was came across acting wise did not seem like it was in a malicious way or in a mocking way or in a like, oh, you're just being dumb. Like I think he was genuinely having those questions, being like, are you sure? Like, can you be definitively sure? Because you're telling me 90% and this is someone's life. Um,
Hmm.
but he should have been like, okay, you know what, you're 90%, I'll be supportive, which he did end up doing in the end. And so the both of them went to the police and the police still didn't listen. Which is just awful. Like they didn't even have records of the when she spoke to the police in the past. And they're like, well, who'd you speak to? And she's like, how am I supposed to know? Like, you guys should have this stuff on record. Like, why is it my responsibility to keep track of who I talked to when someone murdered my friend?
It's really interesting because I like over here I've got his what happened with him. But this man like literally got arrested for child molestation, sentenced 3 years, pardoned in after 17 months, so after a year and a half. Less than 2 months after his release, was rearrested for assaulting a 13-year-old girl, and then was left paroled after serving 2 years again. And then he goes on to like go to New York, get back to LA, and then makes a dating game appearance, and then goes on what's called his California crime spree. Um, and then like when they found Amy in this and such like that, I think it was no, it wasn't Amy. It was sorry, this was a different girl. I don't even know what Amy's real name is to like say like this is what happened and such like that. But like it is absurdly crazy that that all this happened and such like that. But I am thoroughly impressed with the direction of this movie and the shooting of this movie and like everything like that. I think they did so good with the casting they did in this movie, how the actors acted and worked integral to each other. And there was still some awkwardness, but I think that would have been awkwardness in just LA at the time. But it was really, it was sad. It hit all the right beats of where you're just like you felt sad for all of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Like I think the story it told the story it wanted to. And it like I said in the beginning, there were like some things that I wish I had expanded on or maybe taken different directions. I thought it would be really cool if they did it from the killer's eyes the whole time, whenever they did the flashbacks, but they didn't. Because it would have been so cool because she's on the other side of the barrier. She doesn't know what he looks like, so it'd be cool not to know what he looks like until that point, and then you don't know which one of them
I
is
think that would
it.
have maybe that the worry in that would have been making him seem more than human kind of thing. It's and like where this like kind of very much dehumanized him in a sense, which good. Um, I'm trying to find who because like we Charlie was the girl he killed in New York. We had Sarah at the beginning, and then yeah, we only got to see a couple of the murders, which is a terrible thing to say, but it's like a lot of his victims. Some he didn't even kill. Like some he was just like, was doing all that stuff. But like some of these victims were as young as 8, as we said, like a 12-year-old, an 8-year. It was insane that this happened. I mean, and let me be clear, as much as like people dropped the ball and things like that back then, like this is at the end of the day, the murderer's fault. Like
Oh yeah.
this was on him.
Yeah.
He died alone in like a hospital prison room or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, hospital in Kings County.
Yeah.
At
Uh,
77.
yeah. But yeah. No, I think they did a really good depiction of it. I think yeah.
It was a somber ending, though. It was not a happy in the sense he
No.
gets
And
arrested, but it was a somber end to a
yeah.
very suspenseful movie. Like it,
Yeah.
it made you feel all the right stuff.
Yeah. And it should be a somber ending because so many people didn't get the good endings. It wouldn't have done them justice if it was like, yes, our character here technically gets away, but she's also not technically a victim of his either.
Hmm.
So it would have done a disservice to all the other girls that were victims had they made it turn it into a story where she gets like triumphantly gets away. I like the subtlety of how they like it wasn't like a big flashy thing when he got arrested. It was like, okay, the girl runs off and we see it for like a second, but it's not like this dramatic struggle. It's like she just gets out of the car and runs while he's in the bathroom, like, and calls the police and just sits there and watches him get arrested. But I think it was a good. I think they did a good job with that because it didn't take away
I
from
thought they
what people
did.
went through.
I think I agree with you. I think they depicted all this in a good. It's weird to say good when we're saying this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but filming wise,
Yeah.
it was done in a very good light.
It was also done in a kind of a respectful way,
Yes.
which is nice to see for something like this. I feel like sometimes they kind of
Yeah.
over emphasize or dramatize the villains for just that sake.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't do it in this sake. Apparently, Anna Kendrick cried weekly while filming this when she was looking up stuff and things like that. Shows the humanity for it, and she's a
Yeah.
great actress. But because of how good of an actress she is, it felt like we said out of place. So it might have been interesting to see someone else, some other actress,
Yeah,
like
'cause
Cheryl.
she very much played the I mean, I think she's a great actress, but she does kind of play very similar characters.
I
And
think
then
maybe that's why she did it to not be typecast.
perhaps,
I
but
didn't think of it until just now.
yeah, but yeah, it was very she was playing a strong woman who was not fitting in in this world where she couldn't be a strong woman.
Big fan of that, and taking the creative liberties. Obviously, totally fine, totally understand. I think it worked for this. I think how I was watching the movie kind of took me away from the '70s, kind of seeing some of the interaction she was having. But I was really glad when she made those men squirm. Big fan of that. And Eddie, as I believe her name was Marilyn. Was Marilyn or Lisa was the hairdressing people? No, no. Yes, it was. Yes, it was them. They were the best part of this movie. Hell yeah, they were like, "Go, girl!" Big fan, big fan. But yeah, no. Cheryl would never be invited to work back.
No, definitely not. She kind of in this movie, she kind of blackballed herself by doing that.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I hope Terry doesn't get any roles either. Screw
yeah.
Terry.
All
It
right.
it it is really eye-opening to watch this, as we talked about in this episode, with women going through this murder, just being a heinous, crazy person, and kind of the way in which like there is a subgenre of man that do still kind of act in this way. Not as the murderer. Let me be clear. not the murderer. That's a whole other. I meant like the dating contestants. We have dumb guy that knows nothing, and we have tool bag.
Yep, pretty much, yeah.
Also great actors. Let me be clear here. Everyone in this movie hit
They
their characters on the nose.
they were yeah, they were very great at playing those stereotypes. And I loved the questions. Like she threw them under the bus with those questions. Like there's
It's
that
so
one
funny.
part where she asks like bachelor number one a question about like it was like
Theory of
something like
relativity.
oh no, it was like what are women for? And he was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
oh, and she's like, do you want me to go back to Immanuel Kant? And he's like, no. Like he would rather take this
I can answer this.
yeah. He was like this question that is in a way built to be a little bit of a trap if you don't know the right answer, which is
Yeah.
men aren't supposed to have the answer. In that way. Like
Yeah.
it's they're not for something. They are human
Hmm.
beings. That's the point. And instead they were just like, oh, what? Well, of course, for my enjoyment. It's like, no, like wrong answer.
Dude,
So
it is crazy that just being a woman saying no if you ask them out or something like that could like cause someone to react in this way. Because I'm like, I want to go. They don't have to go.
yeah.
Like, no is okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be sad, but I'll move on with my life. And before someone's like, "Oh, you've never been rejected," of course I have. I'm I'm a near 30-year-old man.
I've been
Like,
rejected.
hey man,
Yeah. I shoot my shot. I don't know. It's men out here complain about how hard it is, and I'm like, I shoot my shot all the time, and I'm a woman, and that I feel like it's even harder when it
it's
comes to dating.
I think it's hard for everyone. I am
Yeah.
happily engaged and very pleased and happy with my
Yeah. We
life with
don't need
that.
to hear that. Nah.
My bad, my bad. Just remember, guys, my dog and I talk shit about you.
All right. So, yeah, no, overall thoughts. Would you buy this on DVD?
I don't know. I think it was very good. I think leaving it on streaming is fine. I have no idea if they're gonna put this on DVD. Let me be clear here. I have no idea if Netflix does that. Um, I think this on streaming is fine. I would give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. The only reason I say 8.5 is because there were certain things where I was like, oh, this works. But that's very small nitpicky stuff. This is not a type of movie I usually watch or anything like that. I thought I would watch this again. I would 100% watch it again, but I wouldn't like watch this once a year or something like that, you know? This wouldn't be something I'm like, yeah, let me hit that woman of the hour again, you know? Let me go into that genre as we talked about on Netflix.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I would definitely watch this again. I think it was enjoyable as far as storytelling goes to watch. And I think Anna Kendrick hit it out of the park for her first directorial debut. It was
As a
beautiful.
directorial debut, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
What would you like me to tell her as a direction wise? I got nothing for you, Anna. I got nothing for you, Miss Kendrick. You keep doing your thing.
hmm
I hope
Uh,
she directs more.
no, I agree. I hope she does as well. I'm actually surprised she hasn't already been doing it because she is to me, she seems like she has such a strong presence that
Mhm.
like this is something that she should have been, in my opinion, already doing. But I am very happy that she's doing it now, and I can't wait to see what she has coming for us next.
I agree. I agree. I hope we watch the next one.
All right, that's a wrap on this episode of The Dive In. If you enjoyed today's deep dive, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. What should we dive into next? Why can't I say that like a question? What should we dive into next?
What should we dive into next, everyone?
Yes,
Put
let
it
us.
in the comments and
Yes,
so Kathleen doesn't keep attacking me. Hi, Zero.
yes. Let us know on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And next time, bye.